Hey, good morning. Sorry I'm late. Had a few things I had to take care of this morning, so I'm a little late getting this up. So sorry about that, but hey, some days it bees like that. When you get up, got things to do, uh, fires to put out, so to speak. We're going on to the next section in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, verses 38 through 42. And this is about retaliation. This is the passage where if someone slaps you on the right cheek, then turn to him the left also. And so, a lot of thoughts on this as far as different people, how to interpret this, but it's important that you look at it in context. This is the context of the Sermon on the Mount, what it's like to be a citizen of God's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, to be God's people living in a world that is broken and is under the guiding influence of sin in the way men do things. Okay? So Jesus says in verse 38, you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. This is repeated in the law in Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy. And the idea is it sets the law, the legal limits of justice. The punishment should fit the crime. It does not put that into the hands of people. It just is for legal purposes that the law should make the punishment fit the crime. So, and it's not they did this to you, so you can do this to them. That's not what's being taught there. It's actually a restraint so that justice is done and somebody is not, quote unquote, destroyed for a minor offense. Um, then verse 39, but I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil, but if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And this is another illustration of the same point. If anyone would sue you, take your tunic, your inner garment, then let him have your cloak as well, your outer garment. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. If a Roman official or soldier forces you to take their things 1 mile, which they could do legally, then you just go 2 with them. And give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. Um, and that just directly at don't be so protective over your personal physical property, over possessions, things that are just material. Now, Jesus doesn't have defending your family or your country in mind here. Uh, this is not what he's talking about. He's talking about when you have been wronged, you retaliate. And what he's saying here is one of the things that a lot of Christians have problems with, the basics of it is if you're the suffer violence or injustice, your first response is not to retaliate with anger at all. Your first response is to maintain your dignity, maintain your character, your composure, and not immediately lash out with violence. Because if you do, then the evil person has won the day. The one coming against you has set the agenda, and it's no longer you responding in Christ likeness. It's you being led around by the violence of this world. So that's hard for us, especially in our country where we have rights. Don't tread on me. You just leave me alone. Those kind of things are prevalent not just in ideas of protecting our country and protecting your family, but in personal things. I mean, think of how easily we get mad if we feel offended on Facebook or some social media platform. How we want to take vengeance. If somebody's too slow in the bank or too slow in the drive-through or feel the slightest offense. In our society, we are so quick to respond and want that person to quote unquote pay. Well, that's not the first response from the people of God, the people who are His people living here, where your citizenship is primarily in heaven, because that's where you're going to be eternally before it's here. So the idea, these illustrations all point to violence is not your first response. To fight back is not your first response. Now, that doesn't mean you let people run over you. It doesn't mean that you give everything you have to the poor. There are many different ways to apply this, because you also have to be wise and feed your family and all those things. But you can still be involved in causes that seek to help the poor. Um, if you feel compelled to let somebody borrow something and you know it's the right thing to do, God impresses you on that, or give it to them, then give it to them. Don't hold your stuff so tightly that you somehow think you can keep it, because you can't. And don't hold your personal pride so tightly that the slightest offense means that you're going to lash out against somebody, because Christ did not do that at all on the cross, which is His own personal greatest illustration of this. We live for something more, and a justice and a righteousness that's greater than any encounter with it, or suffering, or any wrong that we will encounter against our person. We sin against God, and rather than lash out and destroy us, He made a way for us to be reconciled. That is our first response. Hope this helps you today, and I hope it helps you get rid of some of the anger and vengeance that many of us carry for things that, looking back, were not really that big a deal. And I also hope it helps some of us who really do struggle with some really things to get help, to see about how to put that behind us and to move on, and to live with forgiveness, because that's at the heart of this. All right, hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tonight, 6:30, where we will talk about Psalm 1 and how that can be instructive for us as we live in these days. All right, have a great day. See you later. Bye-bye.